Now's the time for a great deal on a new Honda. It's time to take an adventure with rugged capability and commanding style. Check out the Honda Ridgeline, Pilot, or CR-V. For a limited time, well-qualified buyers can get a 3.99% APR on a 2025 Pilot, a 1.99% APR on a 2025 Ridgeline, or a 2.99% APR on a 2025 CR-V.
See dealer for financing details.
Hello again, hockey fans. Are you ready to brave the wild? With me, your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan. Brave the Wild is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps and also on the Hockey Podcast Network, THPN. I want to thank Dylan and Kyle once and always for having us on board that wonderful website and network. And I want to thank each and every one of you once and always for downloading and listening to the show. It's a great pleasure to be back on board with you once again today. I'm not feeling 100%. Not sure what's going on, really. It's kind of like a random weird thing, like cough with a little sniffles. Kind of weird. Usually, I don't even want to get into the details of what colds usually do, but it's kind of, I don't know what it is. It's kind of funky, but I'll survive, I guess. Hopefully get through this pretty quickly. I'm sorry if the audio quality stinks because of it, and I don't know, it's like, come on, it just happened like January. What the heck's going on? But that was, of course, pretty severe that time around. Anyhow, enough of that. The Minnesota Wild end up surviving by, in some ways, the skin of their teeth. In other ways, they made it. Basically, they made it. In a lot of ways, you could say the skin of their teeth because, well, obviously getting clipped by the Calgary Flames, burned by the Flames, whatever, extinguished, engulfed, whatever, funny anecdote you want to put into it, and then the Wild go down 2-0 to Vancouver, make a furious rally, as Judd Zulgad likes to call it, and miraculously come out of that one. And, all similarly with the Anaheim Ducks, the Wild score first, and then after that, it felt like the Ducks were, just clamping down that defense, doing a hell of a job, and getting a couple of timely goals, and the Wild looked awfully sloppy. And then there's the miracle comeback and the gorgeous Marc-Andre Fleury story that most of us got to see, and the fact that your host, Paladino Joey, was in attendance, that felt pretty special, because I haven't been to a game I don't go to sporting events very often, because I'd rather be right here in this exact spot, watching the games in an easy form, and, it's pretty easy to do a podcast, but, it is a special vibe to be at an actual game, and especially when you get to see a historic event. Bottom line, the Minnesota Wild, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, so to speak, and you could call it 4 out of 6 points, enough to clinch the 7th spot, or the number 1 wildcard position, and will face off this weekend against the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Yep, the Minnesota Wild are back in the postseason, the 14th time in franchise history, and of course our playoff success hasn't been all so great, and the ongoing fact that I bring up all the time, and I mentioned to my brother who I was sitting next to at the game, he doesn't keep up with sports all that much. I mean, he enjoys it when he's there and all that type of thing, enjoys it when he sees it. Again, doesn't keep up enough for, all of my detail type of stuff, like, the host of Brave the Wild, for Pete's sake. Hopefully I know something about this team, especially when I've been doing this podcast since August 2008. It's about as old as a Wild podcast there is, probably, other than the Wild Podcast. It's the oldest Wild show on the planet. Anyhow, and one of the oldest hockey podcasts. Yay. Okay, enough about me. I was telling him about how the fact that every single time this franchise has had home ice advantage in a series, they've lost. They've never won a They've never won a series where they had the quote-unquote home ice advantage. Again, it's kind of like whatever that means, because how many teams lose Game 7s at home nowadays? Where back in the past, in every single sport on the planet, Game 7 was a death nail to the team on the road. Now, not so much. Ever since the 2009 Pittsburgh Penguins, that kind of changed everything. You saw the Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Golden State Warriors. How delicious was that? Back in 2016. Oh, that arrogant Mickey frickin' team, to see them lose on their home court to the Cleveland Cavaliers, oh, that was one of the most satisfying moments of my sports watching life. I'm not even kidding. I love to see arrogance get destroyed. I love it. To get put in their place, and that's what happened that day. Okay, anyhow, say what you want about LeBron James, and of course the Timberwolves get to play against LeBron James in a playoff series for the first time ever. Interesting. And yeah, they'll be against the Los Angeles Lakers for the third time ever. Unfortunately, the Wolves are 0 for 2 in that battle. Minnesota Wild are 0 for 1 versus the Vegas Golden Knights, but it was a hell of a series a few years ago, and Drew Larson kind of really started to, make his face, just kind of like, I don't know, what's the word? What's the term? What's the phrase we all use? Just kind of, he kind of came on the map. That was when you really started to see, yeah, this guy's legit. Like, he's showing up in a huge playoff series, arguably the best player on the team, and this stinking goalie, doggone it, who makes spectacular saves, was, on the Vegas Golden Knights side at the time, and still, an older guy, but still, you could say kind of like close to his prime, as his prime lasted many, many years, of course, and all the, the back and forth stuff with Pittsburgh, where he would struggle in the playoffs for some strange reason. That would be Marc-Andre Fleury, of course. But he would be making spectacular saves and frustrating the bleep out of us in that series. Like, doggone it. It's like, and to be honest, when I became more of a Fleury fan, it wasn't necessarily with the Pittsburgh Penguins. It was, and like I said, my favorite Fleury memory last week when Derek asked the pretty cool question there, because there's a lot of memories of Fleury, but seeing, again, satisfaction of the Pittsburgh Penguins knock off the Detroit Red Wings. The Red Wings finally lost the Stanley Cup final. That was gorgeous, rather than just kind of losing in the first round or something, like weird choking after being a number one seed multiple years, like losing to the Sharks or something in the first round like they did before they became that dynasty in the late 90s, early 2000s. But to see Pittsburgh come back and beat them after the Red Wings beat them the year before. Yeah, 2008 when I started podcasting. That's how long ago we're talking. So that was a great Fleury memory, but I became more of a Fleury fan by being a pretty big-time follower, love me, hate me, for saying this. A lot of you probably know this already. A pretty big follower of the Vegas Golden Knights. Yeah, that's when I became a bigger and bigger fan of Fleury, became more and more, accustomed to his smile and, just his personality and obviously his skill set, which was very enjoyable. So it was a touching night against the Anaheim Ducks on Tuesday to see what took place. But we'll get back to that in a little bit. So we're kind of going to look at the games a tiny bit. I'm not going to babble too much, even though I already have. Look at the Calgary, Vancouver, and of course Anaheim's your feature presentation without a doubt, especially because it's all about me, right? No, it was a touching night. And it was really cool to be there, let me tell you. Amazing. Amazing. And then, of course, the second segment, we will do a playoff preview. Of course, starting off with the Wild versus Vegas. And actually, I'll probably wrap it up with the Wild versus Vegas. Just kind of do a brief little, what's going to happen and such. I don't even know what I'm going to do. I'm going all over the place here, so I apologize. Sometimes I make decisions on the fly, which is sometimes not only the best way, but the only way to do a podcast in this situation when you're heading into the postseason and you had some drama leading up to it, which we did. The month of April, the final 3 regular season games. This one will be very brief. April 11th, last Thursday? Or was it Friday? Friday. Yep, we got fried on Friday. Yeah, I remember I was talking about 9 p.m. on a Friday night. I don't think too many people are going to complain too much. Where other people are like, oh, come on, I hate those late games. See, me personally, because it's all about me, no, it isn't. I like late games because of second shift. They're fun. But, yeah, I understand other people's frustrations. Yeah, you have to get up 6 in the morning, and there's a game starting at 9 p.m., which is probably pretty close to your bedtime, naughty boy, naughty girl. And, yeah, that's kind of frustrating. Whereas a Friday, I don't know. Anyhow, the Minnesota Wild did not get off to a good start in this one and showed very little life. Only 18 shots on goal. 18 bleeping shots on goal. They fell behind 4-0. Gustafson was an altar sharp. Marc-Andre Fleury had to enter the game late because the frustration was kind of continuing to mount a bit after Calgary would score their 4th goal of the game. Or kind of midway through the third period, Ryan Lomberg scored his 3rd goal of the season unassisted. Marc-Andre Fleury would play the last 9 minutes and 38 seconds of the game. And, yeah, that kind of unfortunately derailed Marc-Andre Fleury from playing against the Vancouver Canucks, but that did open the door to a storyline that was pretty exciting and pretty special on Tuesday night, hosting the Anaheim Ducks. Yes, it did. Dustin Wolf, again, like I said, only faced 18 shots from the Wild. Again, this is a must-win type of game. I mean, if one team is going to knock you out of the postseason, it's these guys right here. You know, it is. Calgary Flames would be the team to knock them out. And, of course, the Calgary Flames have had incredible success against the Minnesota Wild, dating all the way back pretty much to season number 2 in franchise history. Yes, I've repeated this in previous episodes, but maybe you're like a new listener and you're new to kind of following the team and all that. You don't go back to 2000-ish, 2000, 2001, because it's a long time ago now. Not everybody's my age. So the Minnesota Wild dominated the Calgary Flames that year because they were the only team, you know, with a weaker record. The Wild were a pretty competitive expansion team with some pretty cool players that ultimately took the Wild to the conference finals 2 years later in 02-03. That was fun, again, with a young franchise player as well, who later on would become a young injury-prone franchise player who, I don't know, became more of a pain in the butt more than a franchise player. We're praying to God that will not be the case with Kirill, and I don't see that in his personality. But who knows? When it comes to negotiation time, it hasn't been all that nice historically. Again, apologize for the voice. It's probably not great, but at least...
Now's the time for a great deal on a new Honda. It's time to take an adventure with rugged capability and commanding style. Check out the Honda Ridgeline, Pilot, or CRV. For a limited time, well-qualified buyers can get a 3.99% APR on a 2025 Pilot, 1.99% APR on a 2025 Ridgeline, or a 2.99% APR on a 2025 CRV.
See dealer for financing details.
I don't feel like I'm going to cough every 10 seconds like, you know, when I wasn't feeling good back in January. That was brutal. And my eyes were red, too. Not because I cried, but they just were because of, you know, bacterial infection nonsense. It's fun stuff. But this was fun stuff, too. The Wild lost 4-2. Everybody was pissed off and thinking, could this team be on their way to a Minnesota Twins-like collapse? Could they? I don't know. Well, apparently not. Sure looked like it, though, when the Wild fell behind 2-0 against the Vancouver Canucks, who were no longer a playoff team, but they're playing the spoiler role, and we all appreciate that. Brock Faber played his ass off in these last 2 games, there's no doubt about it, able to get his 10th goal of the season after the Wild again fell behind 2-0. The Vancouver Canucks in an extremely frustrating first and second period, where no matter what the Wild tried, it just wasn't working. And Vancouver was able to scoot a couple through, despite only getting 14 shots on net the entire game. Vancouver only managed 14 shots on net the entire game. The Wild dominated the puck for the most part, but couldn't get anything past Lankinen until finally Brock Faber was able to do that, and that kind of started to change the momentum of the game. Felt like $1 million. Brock Faber, again, like I was saying, played his ass off in these last 2 games. There's no doubt about it. Didn't always show up in the scoring sheet. In fact, Anaheim, he probably should have had a couple points in that one. He did have 2 points in this one, thankfully, as he would kind of finally get the Wild on the board, making it 2-1 extremely early into the third period. Marcus Foligno, again, Faber looked like he was going to get his second goal, but that ended up not happening. Ended up getting waved off. Not long after that, Mr. Marcus Foligno would be able to get it in there from Ryan Hartman. Justin Brazeau also adding his 11th assist, so I can't say what do you here. At least he did that. So he made his second assist for Justin Brazeau. Interesting group of players there, kind of fourth line mixed with third line mixed with God knows what, because Polino's been all the way up into the second line at times, or even the top, wasn't he, for a minute? Like the beef line for a little while was considered the top line on the team, but there was no Kirill Kaprizov or who's the other player? Joel Eriksson Ek, yeah, of course. But both of those guys had returned, so the beef line for now has been disassembled for the moment and been shuffled around, as they say. Minnesota Wild would survive, get to overtime, gorgeous play. Zuccarello, Faber would be able to get a second assist on this one, his 19th of the season, which would put him at 29 points on the year. Unfortunately, Brock Faber would not get a point despite 9 shots on goal versus the Anaheim Ducks, so he did not get to 30 points on the season compared to 47 last year. So kind of a frustrating year for Brock, generally speaking, but definitely not a bad season. And let me tell you, getting to watch Brock Faber in person, Yeah, that guy's legit. He's legit in every way. And let me tell you, the Vegas Golden Knights, the sin bin, Ken is like the main guy over there who does, let's just say he does about 75% of the talking, and that's fine. He's he's really, he's pretty good. He's animated and such. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, I'll say it quick, though. This brief thing, I'll have a lot more to say in the future. He considers Brock Faber a superstar defenseman, so that's pretty cool. Very high praise from Ken of the Sin Bin podcast, which is huge, obviously. A Vegas Golden Knights podcast that is huge, absolutely big. So, pardon me, I could only wish and dream to have that role, or that Brave the Wild would get big like that anyways, what I'm trying to say. But it helps when it's the Vegas Golden Knights, and yeah, it's Las Vegas, and obviously the guy's been in radio, at least from what I can tell, so he's got his credentials and all that cute stuff. Yeah, to dream. Doesn't help when you work second shift, does it? Matt Zuccarello would get his 19th goal of the season, and again, he was the guy who was the stand-up person. You heard about it time and time again during the post-game and in conversations on other podcasts and, like regular radio / podcast-ish type of deals out there, like Zolgad and all them. We're talking about Matt Zuccarello was the only guy really out there to kind of talk to the media and all that after that extremely frustrating and painful loss to the Calgary Flames. And then he ends up scoring the game winner versus the Vancouver Canucks and put the Wild 1 point within a postseason berth. So just getting to overtime versus the Anaheim Ducks, and the Wild would be ensured a playoff berth. But would the Wild get it? That was the question. It's like, it looked like they weren't going to, which was insanely frustrating, but thankfully that would come. April the 15th, 2025. Brave the Wild host Joey Awajan, Paladino Joey, finally attending another Minnesota Wild game since dateless past, because I don't want to say you'll kill me, right? 1812 basically like that. Yeah, 1812 pretty much. Marcus Johansson would open up the scoring about halfway through the first period. Kind of entertaining, semi-entertaining start to the game. Looked pretty even for a while. The Minnesota Wild actually did dominate the shots on net most of the game, but I gotta tell you, most of those shots were far away though. Now, Brock Faber, it's okay. He's a defenseman, so you're putting the puck on net. That's what defensemen do. Half of their assists are because of rebounds, which is what good defensemen do. And sometimes it's the timing of the shot, the placing of the shot, and maybe like a screen in front of the goaltender, and it'll go in. And, of course, the power of the shot as well. Sometimes when Dumbaum was able to be a spectacular shooter once upon a time before the infamous pectoral injury versus Matthews Tkachuk of the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, but Calgary at the time, which was also Matt Dumba's hometown. It was cool to see Marcus Johansson score the goal, but I got to tell you, the rest of the game, I think Johansson was adequate for a little bit after this, but then it seemed like as the game progressed, the guy was sloppy as a blankety blank. He was sloppy out there, like not good at all. It was hard to watch. Two other players that looked kind of, they don't look healthy. Kirill Kaprizov doesn't look healthy to me. See, because you get to see it in person. That's the one thing. When you do watch in person, you get to kind of stare at a certain player the whole time because they're not always on camera. Not always. I mean, you're going to see most of what you need to, but that's what I missed about going to Timberwolves games back in the day as well, is you saw some of that stuff that you don't see on TV. TV or, obviously, HD or streaming or whatever device you're using. But Kaprizov doesn't look that healthy. He didn't have the burst. I was telling my brother that the whole game, he doesn't look all that good. What the heck? He just didn't have a burst to him. So it's, at least he's playing, but hopefully it's not still, going to affect him to a point where he's not going to be really any good in the postseason. I mean, I am tired of guys being hurt. The good news is there's nobody on the injury report right now. But another guy who absolutely looked like he was having a hell of a time out there, and especially when one of the goals was scored. I forget if it was the first goal or the second goal. I think it was the Killhorn goal, but I can't remember. Doggone it. It could have been Killhorn or Sam Colangelo. Sam Colangelo, 10th goal of the season. Killhorn, the former Tampa Bay Lightning Stanley Cup champion, won both of them recently when they won the Cup during the COVID nonsense. 20th goal of the season, so it was interesting seeing that guy. It's like I can't name a whole lot of Ducks compared to other teams out there where there's all these familiar players. it's like, yes, you look at the names, I've heard of them, so to speak. Ryan Strome, obviously Alex Killhorn, Colangelo, all those guys. But, Trouba, Jacob Trouba. But it's not, it's not one of those teams where there's all these names you recognize. It's really not. Like Tim Watcher, or Tim Watch, I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you. Justin Brazeau, did I know a whole lot about him before he was traded to Minnesota? No. I confess, no. Guilty as charged. But, well, when the goal was scored and Jake Middleton was kind of crashing into the wall, basically, it didn't look good at all. It didn't look good at all. The way how slowly he was getting up and such. And so, unfortunately, I don't think he's 100%. Not that really anybody is. Like, imagine going on a long playoff run. You think those guys are all 100%, or do you think they're beat to hell? More than likely, bruises all over their body that you can't see under that jersey, under the sweater. So probably bruises and maybe pulled this and strained that. ST strained. Like, you can play through it, but it hurts, and your mechanics aren't exactly what you're hoping for, be it your lower body or your upper body. So obviously in Middleton's case, upper body, Kaprizov's case, lower body, that type of stuff. So you could definitely see guys were kind of banged up, kind of hurt. I thought Faber played an incredible game, obviously making some spectacular defensive plays throughout the night, which was really, appreciated. And stuff that doesn't show up in the stat sheets. Poke check here, just kind of putting up the stop, so to speak. There, Brock Faber was probably the best player on the ice, I thought, throughout the entire game for the most part. Boldy, obviously late, was a hero. Zuccarello would have some moments. And Johansson did wind up with 2 points in the game, but I thought he was insanely sloppy as the game progressed. Yakov Trenin, I was kind of laughing, like, oh, he's going to go on a breakaway, and nothing's going to happen. And nothing did happen. Time and time again, Yakov Trenin would just be, I don't know, he wouldn't get to the puck on time. And I know it's like, far be it for me to yell at a guy for not getting to the puck on time, because it's not like I can go out there and skate with these guys. Not on any day. Not on any day. Marco Rossi was sloppy as heck. Whew, some of the turnovers he had in the game were absolutely frightening, to say the least. Me and my brother were stunned as we watched that. It was like, really? Did he really just do that? So Rossi didn't have his best game, that's for sure. And he's been struggling, to say the least, for the last X amount of nights. Foligno would put up some nice hits. Obviously, he's probably the most powerful guy on the ice on both teams for the most part. But as the game progressed, you felt like they're not going to win this game, are they? They're just going to put some shots on net, but nothing will happen. And I remember I saw a tweet from Derek that was earlier. I was kind of late on the post, but something inside told me they're going to tie this up and we're going to win an OT, despite as ugly and crappy as this is turning out. Even though we're putting shots on net, it felt like the St. Louis Blues games where the Wild would put 50 shots on net, but they were from they were from out in the point or such. Like Boldy, a lot of his shots on net were far away. Faber, obviously he's a defenseman, so most of his shots were far away. But it is what it is when you're a defenseman hoping for a rebound, but the rebounds weren't happening for the most part. That's where the frustration would also come into play. Nyquist looked like he's just kind of, I don't know. Nyquist doesn't look like much of anything out there as well. And I'm not trying to trash on him. He was a hell of a player. His reason is 1 year ago. But my goodness, as he hit a wall, he's just slower. He's just a step slower than last year. I won't say a half step. I think he's a whole step slower. Everything, hands, skating, everything. He's just slower. Slower timing. And when your timing kind of just goes away, you're not as good anymore. And that's kind of what happens to players. That's when somebody like a Danny Heatley went from a superstar to a guy that's, well, he's on our team. That's cool. So, again, once Joel Eriksson with 20 seconds left, you're just hoping and praying. There was a bit of a scramble in front of the net. Finally, something goes through. Joel Eriksson ties it up. I'm like, oh my God, are we actually going to go to overtime here? Yes, we are. Joel Eriksson put it in. The crowd went absolutely insane, which was awesome. Absolutely awesome. Get to go to overtime. So that was more than worth it. And then all of a sudden, the crowd went absolutely nuts. As you gaze over to the Minnesota Wild net, it's number 29 stretching and getting ready to go. And to be fair, real quick here, I thought Philip Gustafsson was pretty sharp. I thought he was pretty sharp. He wasn't perfect. He gave up 2 goals, but he was sharp. 91.7 save percentage, so obviously that's pretty good. I liked what I saw from Philip Gustafsson in the game, but then there's Marc-Andre Fleury as he head into overtime, and it's like, how storybook could this be? Marc-Andre Fleury, upon beating the San Jose Sharks in that crazy, stupid barn burner that was 8-7 last week, became the all-time leader in overtime wins for a goaltender. So it's like, well, now he'll get to add a second one if somehow the Wild escape this. The Ducks looked like the better team for the extended part of the for an extended time in that overtime, and then the Wild also went on the penalty kill, or on the the Wild would also have to go penalty kill as Drew Larsenek slashed Anaheim forward, trying to get the shot on net on Fleury, who made 5 spectacular saves, to say the least. Or 5 really good saves, about 2 spectacular ones, 5 really good ones. I'm like, he's not going to let one by, is he? No, not in this moment. It's like Michael Jordan going to the free throw line, even though it was the crappy Wizards team playing against a below-average 76ers team. Michael Jordan's last 2 free throws ever in the NBA, he's not going to miss them, and he didn't. And it was kind of like that with Fleury. Not as easy as free throws, but you could just sense he's not going to let anything by. You're terrified about the possibility of going to the shootout because anything can happen in those. Guy makes a spectacular move or whatever on you, and you're like dead. It just, sometimes it's a little bit of luck, but that's kind of how it goes. And then next thing you know, there's another scramble. Boldy is in front of the net and puts it in, and oh man, unbelievable. The Wild escape with the victory. Now, I was saying how the Wild had clinched a playoff berth, but everybody was quiet about it because it's like you want to still win the game, just in case we're wrong. But I've been hearing all week that as long as the Wild get a point versus Anaheim, so once Drew Larsenek was able to score that goal in front of the net, that the Wild were going to be in the postseason, despite the fact Calgary was making a valiant comeback and defeated the Vegas Golden Knights during the same time there on Tuesday night. Minnesota Wild would escape with the victory. Matt Boldy did get it in there for overtime, and then Marc-Andre Fleury, and of course, was celebrated like crazy. Everybody was mobbing Marc-Andre Fleury more than Boldy, even though both of them deserve to be mobbed because they're both heroes in this one. And afterward, of course, the fact it's the final game of the season, it's at home, it's fan appreciation night. So Marc-Andre Fleury was then signing some autographs and giving fans jerseys with that were signed. One of them came right off his back, which is unbelievable. Like, imagine getting that jersey, which might be Fleury's last game, but absolutely his last regular season game. Autographed. Wow, unbelievable moment. In some ways, you'd think he'd want to bring that home, but maybe not. Like, he'd want to bring it home, my last game, but he gave it to a fan instead with an autograph, so pretty amazing. And luckily I was able to get an incredible shot of Marc-Andre Fleury, despite the upper deck, being way up in the upper deck. Somehow, some way, you zoom in just the right amount, you hold the thing as steady as possible, because if you move like a millimeter, you're going to be in a completely different spot and miss everything, or get half of the person on there. Somehow I ended up getting a spectacular shot of Fleury late as he was shaking the Anaheim Ducks' hands as they lined up, just like Washington did and other teams. I believe the Sharks did it as well. So pretty damn cool to see that. So an awesome exit. Marc-Andre Fleury, of course, winning in overtime versus the Sharks. That's nice, but giving up 7 goals is not really the way you want to go out. Despite the fact the Sharks are a promising, improving team, giving up 7 goals in your final game is not probably the way you want to end things. How about giving up 0 in an overtime period to help clinch a playoff berth? So pretty awesome. Will we see Fleury in a playoff game? I wouldn't be too surprised one way or another. It could possibly happen, but who knows? Maybe Gus stands on his head. Otherwise, we'll see what happens. Hopefully it's not like because the Wild are getting blown out or something crazy like that. I hope not, but we'll see what happens with that series. The Mike Modano Award winner for this episode? Oh boy. Could it be Fleury? It could be. Partially like kind of more of a ceremonial type of thing. Could it be Favor? Absolutely. Could it be Zuccarello? Absolutely. Boldy. Some great moments. Oh man, it's so tough. It's so tough. I want to give it to Fleury, but I also want to give it to Faber. Maybe they can share it if that's okay. if that's okay, if nobody's offended by me doing that. Faber and Fleury will share the Mike Modano Award for this one. The James Shepard Memorial, probably from what I saw anyway in person, I mean, I was more impressed with Justin Brazeau than Yakov Trenin. He looked lousy out there. So just from, the actual real true eye test, not just watching on TV, but in person, Yakov Trenin ultimately is going to bring home the James Shepard Memorial for that one. So got to do it. Sorry to say. With that said, we'll take a quick break and look at the postseason and all of that good stuff. And we are back here on Brave the Wild, segment number 2. Again, time to look at the postseason up and coming against this one team. The one team, once you get to the postseason, it's best of 7, of course, all that good stuff. But first, we're going to hear from DraftKings right here and right now. Ready to win some real cash during basketball playoffs? Check out Pick 6 from DraftKings. When it comes to basketball payouts, DraftKings Pick 6 posterizes the competition, including prize picks. Hopefully Anthony Edwards can posterize some Lakers coming up. Hit all your picks and score higher minimum payouts on Pick 6 plus even more cash if you outscore the competition. Pick 6 is available in most states, including Missouri, California, Texas, Georgia, and more. So generally speaking, I've really enjoyed doing Pick 6. It's a lot of fun to kind of keep up with games, and you can obviously it's a way to make some money while enjoying the games. So it's a lot of fun. New players get $50 get 50 in Pick 6 credits instantly on just a $5 entry. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to play $5. And then get $50 in Pick 6 credits, better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. And thank you so much, Pick 6, without a doubt. Real quick, we can look at some final statistics for the Wild. Just super brief, like Matt Boldy, getting past the 70-point mark, so good for him. We'll see if he eventually gets to 80 and 90 and beyond. That'd be amazing. But 73 points in 82 games. Congratulations getting through all 82. Marco Rossi, all 82 games, 60 points, reaching the 60-point plateau. Kaprizov, only 41 games, 56 points. He was on pace for a spectacular season. But unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. Zuccarello with 54, so on and so forth. Goudreau, I thought, had a nice rebound renaissance of a season. 18 goals, 19 assists in all 82 games for 37 points. Johansson missed 10 games. Mediocre, kind of, I thought, up and down, 34 points for him on 11 goals. Faber only 29, a -2 for Faber. So, I don't know, I mean, frustrating, I'm sure, but of course played a much larger role than he did at times last season. Jared Spurgeon did manage to play 66 games, so a heck of a lot better than in the past. 7 goals, 25 assists for 32 points, and a +8 on the season, which is nice. Jake Middleton was a +11. Brodin was a +10. Kaprizov was a +19. So those are some spectacular numbers off and on, especially the +19. Gustav Nyquist in 22 games, only 7 points. Yeah, not much to write home about there. Liam Ogren, kind of semi-extended time, 24 games, 2 goals, 3 assists for 5 points, and a -6. We'll see what happens with Liam Ogren in the future. Steve Bouillon, I didn't even talk about him, as of course he was signed to an entry-level deal and all of that, but did not suit up versus the Ducks. We'll see if he suits up versus the Vegas Golden Knights at some point. they probably, and in some ways it's like, yeah, you wanted Jake Middleton out there because he's the veteran, he's a big guy, and he's a good defenseman, very good player. But I don't know, maybe it wasn't worth it having him out there. I'm not sure what to say, but who knows what happened behind the scenes there to go for Jake Middleton instead of possibly a Dave Bouillon debut. And of course, the coaching staff a little bit nervous because it's a must-win game. While lose that game, maybe you'll lose the season. It almost can happen, sadly. So we'll see if Steve Bouillon does debut. Apparently he will wear number 8. So Liam Ogren for now is safe with number 28. Some people saying, he might end up getting traded anyway at some point, and then Bouillon gets 28 at the end of the day. So that's what he wore in Denver. I'd rather keep both of them. I like Liam Ogren. I like his future. Obviously, he is breaking through a bit in the AHL, which is what Rossi did the year before he started breaking through the NHL. So hopefully Liam Ogren has that coming in the future. Okay, so there's kind of a little bit of conversation there. And now we'll move on into the postseason conversation, if humanly possible. So you got the brackets and such. Let's go to the Eastern Conference real quick. Toronto is the A1, basically. What's that? The Atlantic Division. They'll be hosting the 7th seed, apparently, Ottawa Senators. Tampa Bay Lightning, A2 versus A3. So it's an all-Florida battle there. Tampa versus Florida. Toronto versus the Senators. Obviously, a lot of people think the Senators could pull off a crazy upset here, as they're a pretty good team, and I wouldn't be too surprised. They have some nice veterans, but of course some really nice young talent in Ottawa, and Toronto has had terrible playoff history. So maybe that could be your most likely upset here. We'll see how things turn out with that. Florida and Tampa, that's going to be an epic battle. Could Tampa be the team to knock Florida out and end their bid to repeat as Stanley Cup champions? Oh, boy. I'm almost tempted to go with the Senators in 6 or 7, possibly, over Toronto. Florida and Tampa, I don't know. Maybe Tampa knocks Florida out. I don't know. I'm kind of leaning that way. I think Tampa in 7 over Florida. Oh, boy. This could lead to some craziness here. Toronto, I think they squeezed past Ottawa. Yeah, I know, it's kind of lame. In 7 also. Washington versus the Montreal Canadiens making the postseason. Capitals in 5, unfortunately. I don't like that, but that's how it goes. The Devils versus the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm not sure. I might be picking all the home teams, which is probably a terrible mistake. Oh, boy, I don't know. I think I'm going to pick Florida over Tampa. Florida beats the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think that's the most likely road one to get the job done. And obviously it's a very even matchup between those two. They know each other well and everything, and the whole division thing, which can be kind of boring at times. Florida advances to play Toronto. Carolina, I think, beats New Jersey in a back-and-forth battle. 6 games, though. Carolina will beat the New Jersey Devils and face off versus the Capitals, who I think would beat Carolina in 6 games to go to the Eastern Conference Final. And I think Florida also goes to the Eastern Conference Final. I'd like to say Toronto. I really would. I mean, we're due to see Toronto go on a playoff run, maybe even the Cup Final. But I don't know. I think Florida gets to the East Final. Oh, boy, could Florida go back to the Stanley Cup? I don't know. It's probably the Capitals, though. I think the Capitals win the East in like a 7-game series versus Florida. The Capitals, and I'm not happy about that. I don't want the Capitals to win. I have all this respect for Ovi and everything, but I just don't like the Capitals. I just don't. But that's kind of how I'm standing with that one. Capitals win the East. NHL playoffs, no, Western Conference. Winnipeg versus St. Louis. I think the Jets win that one in 5. Dallas and Colorado. Boy, 2 teams you'd like to see fall off the face of the earth. That's going to be a 6 or 7 game battle. It's going to be grueling. And probably end up being sacrificial lambs for the next team, unfortunately, where Winnipeg could go to the West Final, very possibly. Oh, boy. And I may end up having to break away from my original prediction at the beginning of the season and late at the end of the Cup Final last year coming up. We'll get to that in a minute. I think Dallas wins. I think Dallas wins in 7, and they will face off versus Winnipeg. Vegas and Minnesota. It's a tough one. Some people think the Wild could pull this off. It might be like a Vegas in 6 or 7 type of thing. It'd be typical if the Wild lose a home game to wrap up the season. I think Vegas in 6. Yeah, and we'll talk about that in a little bit coming up. the preview. I know that's kind of a spoiler alert, and I probably didn't handle that too well. Los Angeles Kings versus the Edmonton Oilers. The Oilers are kind of limping into the postseason, and it's a shame. Would like to see them go on a run. Maybe they still will. But I don't know. I don't know if I like their chances at the moment. How do I keep screwing this up? It kind of sucks. I keep screwing this up. Just push the button. That's it. There you go. Yeah, Vegas, 50 wins, 22 losses, 10 overtime losses. So this is their third 50-win season, and all of the years that the Vegas Golden Knights have won 50 games, they went to the Stanley Cup Finals. So first time back in 2018, they went to the final, lost to the Capitals in 5 games. and in 23, beat Florida in 5 games. Beat Florida in 5 games. So 2 kind of pretty lopsided situations there. So we'll come back to that in a minute. My apologies. I'm looking. Where did it go? That one. Okay. LA Kings versus Edmonton. LA Kings versus Edmonton. I keep going back and forth on this one. I'd love to see Edmonton get it done. I don't know. It's one of those things. It's like it's time. It's time the Edmonton Oilers finally broke through and did something. They did finish in third place in their division. 48 wins, 29 losses, 5 OT losses for 101 points. So, no, they're not really limping in the playoffs. They were limping for a while, but now they were 7-3 in their last X amount of games. But the Kings are playing crazy good. They finished with 105 points on the season, 8-2 in their last 10. They've been absolutely great. They've been spectacular. That one's probably going to go 6 or 7. I think it's going to be an epic battle between the two. It usually is. I don't want to pick the Kings. Dang it, but I'm probably going to have to. Just the vibe I'm getting, I think the Kings do beat the Edmonton Oilers. So it's going to be Kings versus Knights, Golden Knights. Winnipeg versus Dallas. Winnipeg will beat the Dallas Stars in... It'll be a close series, I think. 6 or 7. We'll say 7. Vegas beats the Kings in 6. Yep, Vegas beats the Kings in 6. They've had good success against the Kings, generally speaking, historically. Vegas Golden Knights then go to the Stanley Cup Final for a rematch versus the Washington Capitals. Vegas Golden Knights for a rematch versus the Washington Capitals in the Stanley Cup Final. Vegas would get past Winnipeg in, I think it might be a stunner. Like, they might beat them in like 5 or 6. It'll be like a surprise, like, whoa. Like, they just kind of hit the stride. They just kind of hit stride and get going in the right direction. I think Vegas wins the Stanley Cup. I know people are like, oh no. But I know there's other predictions where people have the LA Kings winning the Cup. So very strong possibility that second round matchup between the Kings and the Vegas Golden Knights, the winner wins the Stanley Cup over Washington in the Stanley Cup Finals. I'm picking that team to be the Vegas Golden Knights to beat the Capitals. Believe it or not, in 6. They would win at home in 6 games over the Washington Capitals to get revenge on 2018 and win their second cup, which will annoy a lot of people listening, I'm sure, because now people are like, they just got in the league like bullcrap. That's 8 seasons in the NHL and 2 Stanley Cups. Well, I kind of think that's what's going to happen. I like the way Vegas is going into the postseason. They look pretty tough. So the Wild will play the eventual Stanley Cup champions here. So maybe it's the winner between Minnesota and Vegas who wins the Cup. Wouldn't that be something? Or the Wild just flat out beat Vegas for whatever reason. It'd be amazing. So otherwise, let's look at the series. Yes, they have Vegas in 6. And X Energy Center beating the Wild. I know. It sucks, but that's how it goes. Vegas is 5th in goals, 4th in goals against, 4th in assists, 2nd on the power play. Way up there with, Winnipeg would have been 1st in the power play. So it's kind of like pick your poison. 26th in the penalty kill, so kind of stuck in there just like the Wild. So golden opportunity for the Wild's power play, hopefully, to beat the Vegas Golden Knights in this series. Vegas has been spectacular about staying out of the net. Very disciplined. 2nd in the league there. Shooting percentage is 13th. Aiden Hill, strong season. He helped the Golden Knights win the Cup 2 years ago. 4 shutouts on the season, 90.6 save percentage, 2.47 goals against average, 32-13 on the season, so a 30-game winner, which is a big deal in the NHL for goaltenders. Jack Eichel had a real shot at 100 points before having an upper body injury type of thing, so I'm not sure what's going on there, unfortunately. Upper body injury for Jack Eichel, 94 points in 77 games. Finally scored his 28th goal yesterday, returning in the final game of the regular season. against, I think it was Vancouver, wasn't it? So, yep, Jack Eichel finally did return to help my fantasy team there at the end. Hopefully push through and win the entire thing, because today is the finale, and I think my fantasy team is going to win it all, which would be so nice. We'll see if that truly happens at the end of the day. Mark Stone, only 66 games, but when healthy, he's a killer. 19 goals, 48 assists. Jack Eichel had 66 assists for 94 points and plus 32 on the season. Mark Stone is a plus 22 in 66 games, 67 points. Tomas Hertl for 73 games, 32 goals, 29 points, 29 assists, 61 points, and minus 3. Shea Theodore has been absolutely ridiculous. 7 goals, 50 assists, 57 points. Absolutely crazy. Plus 19 on the season. And a couple of younger guys who've really emerged in a nice way. Pavel Dorofeyev, Pavel Dorofeyev, and then Ivan Barbashev. A little bit easier to pronounce. 52 points for Pavel and 51 points for Ian. Ian only played 70 games, where Pavel played all 82. Very interesting prospects. Finally, the Golden Knights have an actual prospect. Cody Glass certainly wasn't cutting it for the Golden Knights. He didn't emerge really as much of a whole lot. He was the first ever first-round pick by the Golden Knights back in 2017, but ultimately not much of anything special. Pavel this year, though, 52 points, 35 goals to lead the team in goals, getting us 35th last night versus Vancouver. He was a third-round pick, number 79th overall by the Golden Knights in 2019. He's coming out of Russia. Pavel Dorofeyev. So a lot of people excited about him in Vegas. Finally an actual prospect instead of only the whole win now thing, which of course is frustrating. Barbashev isn't that young. No. I'm like, I don't know what I'm talking about. He was drafted 10 years ago, so my bad. Also out of Russia, but some big moments. Yeah, I'm getting him mixed up with someone else. I apologize. He was with the Blues winning the Stanley Cup in 2019 and with Vegas in 23. Actually traded to Vegas from St. Louis to win his second Stanley Cup in his career. So, Noah Hannafin, I believe he was with Calgary. I know my Calgary Flames, don't I? Yep, he was with Calgary forever. But, yeah, about a decade. Cool. About a decade with the Flames, just about. Had some moments, obviously 39 points, 10 goals, 29 assists, plus 8 on the season. William Karlsson, he had a 43-goal season in that first year during that Misfits season when they went to the final to lose to Washington. But I do believe this Vegas team gets to the finals and wins it this year. I got a feeling they're going to win it. I would love to come on here and pick the Wild to win this series, but I think it's going to be a back-and-forth type of a battle. I think the Wild will have their opportunities where we'll be like saying, man, they could have won this series. But we'll be like, man, if this happened and if that happened, it'll be one of those what-ifs, what could have been type of deals. It'll probably be filled with moments like that, hitting a post or losing a bad bounce, maybe a call that doesn't go your way. But I got a feeling there's going to be a few of those throughout this series. It's just a vibe I have. I'm kind of feeling the same with the Wolves and the Lakers as well. It just totally figures, that type of thing. So that's pretty much how I'm feeling going into this series and why I think it'll be a 6-gamer. Wild will win one of the games in Vegas at the beginning. I think Game 2. If the Wild win Game 1, well, who knows? All bets are off. It could be real fun. But I do believe they did win Game 1 back in 21 and then lost 3 in a row. And then won 2 in a row. Couldn't finish it off with a 3-game win streak to pull off a great upset back in 21. Vegas then went on to the West Final and did not play well. It's like they just stopped scoring. I forget if that was against Dallas or Montreal that year. I think it was Montreal. Or was it Dallas? I can't remember. That was the weird year where they had all those blocks, and that's how Montreal got to the Stanley Cup Final. Montreal got to the Stanley Cup Final, which is insane. Like, who could even... You look at that Montreal team, they're going to the Stanley Cup Finals. Like, no way, man. No way in heck. But they did that year, which is weird because of the strange blocks. Like, this is Canada, and this is the South or whatever. So it was kind of funny how all that turned out because of COVID this, COVID that. That was wild, literally. And whereas this year, again, yeah, I think it's going to be a back-and-forth series. The Wild will win one at home, win one on the road, but ultimately, maybe it'll be 2-2, something along those lines. Like you win Game 2, I think. I think the Wild win Game 2 and Game 4, but ultimately Vegas takes care of business in 5 and 6 to knock out the Minnesota Wild, unfortunately. Will we see Marc-Andre Fleury enter a game? Yes. Will we see Steve Bullion play? Probably. And I put no on Derek's poll, which I don't know. Because it's just, I get this vibe like he's not going to play, but then now I'm kind of semi-changing my mind a little bit. He might get in a game or two. It feels weird and pointless, though, to burn the whole, to burn a year off, but I guess that's part of negotiations to get people to sign. But I don't think there was any threat of Steve Bullion not signing with the Wild, whereas a lot of times it's a negotiation tactic to get someone to sign, because then, your restricted free agency is closer and you're going to get that big raise, which is, I don't know, kind of annoying. Like, you enjoyed Faber's nice deal for, 2 years, basically. Like, entry-level contract, and then bam, $8 million a year, where it might be a similar thing with Steve Bullion going forward. So, it's kind of a bummer. It's like, what cap space? What cap space? Well, we'll see what happens this summer. It's going to be a big one. We'll see what happens with Kirill Kaprizov. We'll see what happens with Danila Yurov. Of course, Steve Bullion is looking promising, and maybe another nice draft pick or two, or, Liam Ogren, guys like that emerging. Maybe one of those young defensemen in Iowa makes the team next fall. So, but we're not ready to talk about next fall. Hopefully the Wild can pull off some kind of nice upset, and then we'll see what happens. Go from there. Maybe you do beat the Kings and go to the West Finals. That would be pretty amazing if the Wild were able to pull that off. Can this team do it? Sure. But are they going to? I don't think so. I don't think they're consistent enough to do it. That's the problem. So that's kind of the vibe I have going into the postseason. Just not consistent enough. Kind of like Gopher Hockey going into the NCAA tournament, and they couldn't even get out of the first round in that case, even though they were the favorite. Like, we were kind of the Vegas Golden Knights, the Gophers were, versus the, what was it, UMass Lowell, I believe it was called? No, not Lowell. The other one, Amherst, the one that had Lindbergh, our former goalie prospect, 7th-round pick years ago. So I believe he's still with the Pittsburgh Penguins organization, or is he in Europe now? I can't remember. Maybe he went to Europe, unfortunately. Tempted to dig around in prospects a little bit just for the heck of it. Doggone it, now I'm looking at Liam Ogren here. But yeah, Lindbergh, I was a fan. Yeah, Philip Lindbergh. Okay, yeah, he's been in Europe for years now. A couple years anyway. He's been kind of moving around in SM Liga, a couple different teams, but numbers are pretty good. 2.5, 2.5, 2.3, 2.38. It's pretty good numbers. Not bad. I know the scoring isn't real high over there, but not bad at all. To be fair. Yeah, UMass Amherst. Yeah, he was unbelievable his last 2 years for UMass, and then winning the national championship with a shutout. Was mediocre in the AHL, about 3 goals a game. Bummer. So he's in Finland now, unfortunately. We'll see if that changes. Nesterenko has been on the Ducks. Did he play against the Wild? I don't think so. 20 games, 6 points with the Ducks. And, of course, the Gulls and all that. San Diego Gulls, that's their AHL affiliate. So there's that. I think Beckman, didn't he get like a 10-game suspension or something? Crazy. Yeah, kind of sad. Beckman, the former prospect as well. So that's another weird conversation out there that I won't get into too much at the moment. Did I talk about? Oh, yeah, Western Michigan. Congratulations to the Broncos. Yeah, yep. So that ended up working out. It ended up being Western Michigan. So I did something right. Western Michigan beating Denver just barely. That's why Steve Bullion was available, and I mean just barely. In double overtime, was it? And then so a bitter loss for Denver, trying to win their back-to-back national championship in like 11th, I think, in program history, which is crazy. And Boston U, who had I think they've had 5. They're like the Gophers, basically. 5 national championships, getting back to the final game, but losing again. I remember they lost to Providence years ago. In a heartbreaking fashion. I think the goalie accidentally dropped the puck into his net. So felt so bad for that kid. Wouldn't that be awful? And then everything kind of snowballed from there, and Providence won a national title. I still remember that. Whereas this one, Broncos were just the better team, and they won it all. They were the only seeded team remaining, like top 4 team remaining that was remaining. That was in the Frozen Four, and they ended up winning it all. So congratulations to the Western Michigan Broncos. Western Michigan Broncos, a program that only had, I think they had a national championship. The last national championship that any program in that school had won was, I think it was cross country in the early 60s. I think they won like back-to-back national championships for cross country in the early 60s. Anything else? Nope. Well, hockey 2025. Congratulations to Western Michigan. So that is insane. Do you realize how crazy that is? Cross country. That's it. I mean, even the Gophers have football national championships, which sounds like, like what planet are you from? The Gophers? Gopher football won a national championship? Oh, yeah, they have a number of them. Yeah, 60, 70, 80 years ago. Like World War II veteran guys practically. But, yeah, way back in the 40s, that would be World War II veteran type of guys. So, possibly. So, it's pretty crazy. Or Korean War, like Bob Dole does this and Bob Dole does that. Bob Dole's hockey team, the Golden Gopher football team. No, the football team, not hockey. So, basically like that. That's how far back we're talking. But anyhow, enough of that. Danila Yurov, 5 playoff games, 1 goal, and that's it. We'll see what happens with Danila Yurov possibly coming to the National Hockey League this summer and the fall and all that cute stuff. Obviously, all the college players done playing. Juniors, Riley Heidt. Okay, looks like he's signed a, what do they call it, entry-level deal. 9 points in 6 games in the postseason. Entry-level deal. He's now possibly going to be on the Iowa Wild. Well, he will be. Riley Heidt coming professional now. 20 years of age, and the junior year is over, and he turned 20 on March 25th. March 25th. Congratulations to becoming a pro player, Riley Heidt. Kumpalainen, well, not a whole lot to write home about there. 16 points in 48 games for the Pelicans of SM Liga. Of course, Charlie Stromell, first round exit. Ouch. That sucked for him, I'm sure. Losing to Colgate, the Big Red. So that Big Red freshness was just too much for Michigan State. Doggone it. I had to do it. I'm sorry. Very sorry. Aaron Pionk, University of Duluth, long gone. In a galaxy far away. Kalen Parker in 8 playoff games, 1 goal, 3 assists. Good for him. He was a plus 40 for the Calgary Hitmen this season. Right shot. Is he right shot? That's what I thought. Yes, right shot defenseman. 20 years of age. Could be, maybe let's see if he signs an ELC. Joining your Minnesota Wild, or Iowa Wild is more likely. Steve William will be joining the Minnesota Wild. Ryder Ritchie still 18. He's got a little ways to go, doesn't he? Jeez. But, man, playoff performer. 8 playoff games, 11 points, 6 goals, 5 assists. I like Ryder Ritchie. He shows up in the postseason. I like Ryder Ritchie. Like last year, same thing. 7 points in 5 games. Like you think, oh, yeah, that's good, though. That's really good. So, Ryder Ritchie taking some nice steps forward, and obviously a performer in the postseason coming out of Calgary, Alberta, which I think has a little bit of hockey history over there. Of course, only 1 Stanley Cup with the Flames, but it's still Calgary Flames have a heck of a fan base. Aaron Kivi-Haro, 4 playoff games, no points. Ouch. 16 points in 52 regular season games. So on and so forth. Chad Wuski, no postseason. Well, of course, that's postseason scoring. He's not gonna score. Oh, he did get an assist during the year, though. Well, there you go. 3.38 goals against average on the season. So not a whole lot to write home about there, unfortunately. So I think that's enough of the prospects. Jesper Wallstedt. And, oh, yes, Iowa has still been playing, and they lost 3-1 last night. Jesper Wallstedt, 3.59 goals against average on the season, 9-14, save percentage about 88. Yuck. Liam Ogren, 40 games, 37 points, still at 19 goals and 18 assists. Graham Clark, 37 points in 63 games. The main difference here, obviously, the 63 games versus 40, but also Clark, minus 13, whereas Liam Ogren's a plus 2. That's encouraging, folks. Luke Toporowski's been one of the best prospects. I think he got it this week, didn't he? For M&W prospects. I think he got it. +8 on the season. He's awesome. 23 years of age, Davenport, Iowa. 53 games, 28 points, and a +8. That's good. Carson Lambos is a +6. I love that. Winnipeg, Manitoba, 21 years of age, 67 games, 5 goals, 14 assists, 43 penalty minutes, though. That's kind of a lot. But a +6 on this team is impressive. I think that's good. So, nice step forward for Carson Lambos. And again, a couple more points as well. But being a +6 is great. Ryan O'Rourke, again, huge improvement from last year. Only 2 goals, but 10 assists, 12 points, -8 on the season. He's still only 22, so there's still hope. You can still hold out hope for him. Tyler Madden had his second goal of the season yesterday. Albany, New York. Cool. New Yorker. 19 games for Iowa. Pert had his first goal just recently. It was like a miracle. Didn't he have a multi-point game? He's now at 7 points. -1 on the year. That's not bad. And he's 21. Oh, yeah, he's not 20. He's 21. But still, not that old. Not that old. So I think we get the point here. Obviously, nice to see some steps forward. And some of the young guys being pluses. I think that's really cool. Like Liam Mogren. And, of course, Toporowski. I don't know if he's a Wild prospect, really. But kind of, sort of. And, of course, Carson Lambos. I mean, really, really nice to see that on the Iowa team, who's not won a whole lot of games this year. Better than last year, but last year was just garbage of a season. This year's a little better. So we'll see what happens with that. We'll take a quick break now, come back, and return for some fan interaction. And we are back here on Brave the Wild, segment number 3, fan interaction segment. Gonna get hopping here. So we'll open things up with, it's at Brave the Wild, at Brave the Wild. Of course, on Instagram is Brave the Wild _MN, Brave the Wild _MN. And the Facebook page is facebook.com/Brave the Wild. I almost messed up something here. Okay, Instagram's up and all that cute stuff. And yes. Where am I? Please find it. Please find it. Okay. So I was saying this is awful. The Minnesota Wild never beat the Flames. And then Chris Schoenberger responds with, season will end with Wild losing wild card to Flames by 1 point. I was saying it wouldn't surprise me, sadly. It would be a Twins-like collapse. So yes, Chris was frustrated at the moment for sure. I believe there's a bit of a back and forth, but in a positive way for the most part. Damn it, I gotta look it up a different way. It was after I posted some pictures about, I was saying 35 shots on net. This is in the Anaheim game. This is a different Chris. 35 shots on net and still only 1 goal. MS Chris 1221 says, so frustrating. I was saying it really was. The game was real tough until the last 20 seconds or so. We go back and forth a little bit. Chris says, very hard to watch until pulling the goalie actually worked for the Minnesota Wild. Well, yeah, the Wild had to pull the goalie, of course. Gustafsson says, love that Gustafsson wanted Fleury to take the OT. As yes, that was Gustafsson's idea. Isn't that cool? Chris said, I had thoughts all day how if Marc-Andre Fleury didn't start, how could the Minnesota Wild find a way to get him on the ice one last time? Even if for a few minutes, if they had nothing to lose either way, it's like, just do it. And yeah, they had nothing to lose once they gained that point, apparently. They were going to play the Knights, Golden Knights. As that's the Wild's train going into the postseason, I hope. Or was it Marc-Andre Fleury saying, you're not going to stop this freight train. You're not going to stop this freight train. And I was saying it's as storybook as it gets, putting him in overtime and adding to his record OT victory total. A little bit more of a little conversation here. I was saying nobody can nail me for a copyright on this picture. That was a shot from the Android phone all the way from the upper deck to get Mr. Marc-Andre Fleury in the picture. Pretty fun. Chris, the same Chris here responds with great pick. I was taking video from up in my seats. Yep, so he was there too. Cool. Saying thank you very much. And a miracle how you can get it from so far away. And Chris was saying, yes, especially when zoomed in. That is why my video is a bit wonky. I was saying, yep, it's tough. We're skilled people. And he says, yeah, or try to be. Yep. So that was fun. Little conversation there. definitely some positive vibes to say the least. Emma W. Young Guns saying we'll have to wait a little longer for Steve Williams' NHL debut. For the first time since November 10th, Hines has a full roster available. Yeah, see, that's the big thing. I mean, Wild going into the playoffs healthy, kind of healthy anyway, as Kaprizov and Middleton do not look 100%, but we'll see. They decided to keep William out of the lineup for tonight. That'd be the Ducks game. We're disappointed, but given the importance of the game, it's understandable. Yep, sounds good. Was there anything else? No. There's Steve William in Minnesota Wild practice gear there. Gotta like that. So then I say about, ready for the next Brave the Wild. Hashtag it BTWMN. So yes, those of you that want to get on the show, hashtag it BTWMN. And we'll get you on the show. Now, of course, that other stuff was not BTWMN, me and Chris, but that was kind of a back and forth little conversation and very positive. So, here we go. There's a bit, there's a little bit of stuff here. That's good, though. It's great. Oh, no, this is too far back. March 16th? No. Whoops. Leading off is Derek Fels. Nope, this is April 2nd. Okay, because I didn't hit latest. Ugh. Yeah, that's how I used to mess stuff up. Okay, here we go. Now we're caught up. Allegedly. Oh, yeah, I was also, the seats, very, very close. I mean, eerily close to the single banner the Minnesota Wild have outside of the Wild fans retiring number 1 and Mikko Koivu's number 9. But it was, obviously a little bit on the other side there. Eerily close to the Northwest Division Championship, 2007-2008. I was a new podcaster at that time. The show was still called Paladinolive, but I talked about the division champion Minnesota Wild. And then a month later or so, going into August, Brave the Wild came into existence, and Paladinolive then ceased operations as it became Timberwolves Explosion and Brave the Wild, because Purple Mafia had already, metamorphosed out of Paladinolive. So, yeah, I was saying it really does look lonely. That would be that banner. No response, but one like, so that's cool. Let's get, there's a few here. Don't want to miss this. Yeah, that's April 13th. That's pretty recent. Okay, let's get going. So I was hashtagging that Steve William had signed, so on and so forth. There's a bit of responses here. Yep, Derek responds with, this is not the official Derek Felska lightning round yet. He says, I'm a bit torn, excited to see what he can do. But also, it doesn't seem like the best move to burn a year of the contract for what might amount to 1 to less than 10 games this season. Yeah, I'm thinking, might be just a couple games. I understand injuries to the Minnesota Wild likely plays a role in this, but we have other young defensemen in Iowa to fill that role. David Spacek, Carson Lambos, for example. Yeah, I agree. Iowa has been eliminated from playoff contention. Yep, so why not use one of them and save a year of Williams' contract? If the talent is what people think, cheap years are a bonus. And 1,000% agree with that. It is kind of weird. I don't think it does make a whole lot of sense. But other than, I suppose, again, a lot of people say that's some kind of negotiation tactic to kind of, be nice to the player. Like, you get to get your raise sooner. It's kind of annoying, though. I think you're kind of screwing yourself when you do that type of stuff, unfortunately. But as Bill Guerin might say, I don't know. Mosey chimes in on the conversation. Think of Kaprizov. What would be paying him right now if he had another season of his ELC? What would we be paying him right now? Another season of his ELC before getting the big contract. It saves money potentially long term to burn a year on some kids. Derek says saves money, but you also lose a year so they can play in a few games. In my opinion, you'd rather have another year. The Wild wish they would have had Kaprizov earlier than they did. Oh, I'm sure. That sucked. It was like right away. It's like, oh yeah, we got Kaprizov. Now we got to sign him again. It took like 5 seconds. Kind of like that with Faber, too, because of burning the year. So, the Derek Felska lightning round hath returned. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Yes, It has indeed. Derek is also, again, a part of the Crease Assist podcast. Highly, highly, highly recommended. They do an amazing job. Look forward to hearing what they have to say about this upcoming series and probably the postseason in general. Yes, I picked the Vegas Golden Knights to win the Stanley Cup. I came off of my original pick of the Edmonton Oilers. We'll see what happens. If I'm completely wrong on both of them, so be it, Jedi. Last year I stuck with Florida and stuck with Florida and stuck with Florida, and, well, they won. That was cool. We'll see if I'm right this time. Derek with a couple of polls here. First one is, how will Minnesota Wild playoff series go against the... how will things turn out with the Vegas Golden Knights? I said the Vegas and... okay, so Wild in 4.7% picked that. Wild in 5, 6, or 7, 31.3. And then in first place, Vegas in 5, 6, or 7. That's what I picked. 52.2. And then Vegas in 4, 11.7. So some pessimistic people on that one, but not too many. Okay, next. How many playoff games will Zeev Buium play in the Minnesota Wild's postseason? And so on and so forth. So all of them is one choice, 3 to 4, 3 or 4, 1 or 2, and then none. I ended up picking none, but 1 or 2 ended up getting first place. You guys are probably going to be right, probably. So I'm probably going to be wrong. We'll see. But none came in second place. All of them came in third. That's interesting. That'd be cool. 3 or 4 came in last place at 7.3%. Yep, I'm probably going to be wrong. It'll be 1 or 2. I was saying thoughts on da-da-da-da-da. So Jay Bushy actually is leading things off. He's playing the Dan Gladden role here, or Chuck Knobloch, or Shane Mack. What are my feelings on the Vegas series? I think it'll be the Vegas. I think it's going to be like back and forth type of thing. Minnesota Wild will have some golden opportunities, pardon the pun, golden opportunities. But the Vegas Golden Knights, I think, will capitalize more on their golden opportunities than the Wild will. I think that's kind of be the difference. But the Wild, I don't know if they're really truly finishers. Like, they've been clutch in overtime, which is really cool and fun. But against Vancouver, against the Sharks, against the Ducks, are they going to be clutch against the Vegas Golden Knights? Right now, I think Vegas is more likely to get that done, and it'll be the Vegas Golden Knights in 6 games. To Derek Belska batting second here. Chuck Knobloch and whoever else could be batting second. I'm going to say the 91 Twins, the best team in Twins history. At least the team that actually, was probably the most impressive overall. Even though 65 Twins were spectacular, but they lost to the Dodgers in 7 games. Ugh. In 1965, anyway. Okay, so would you say, this is Derek, would you say the Minnesota Wild have momentum after coming with 20 seconds from likely missing the playoffs and having to defeat a non-playoff team in overtime to get there? A little bit of momentum to a point that they'll be respectable versus Vegas. Like, say if they kind of went in backwards, they'd probably lose in 5 games or something if they went in backwards. So there'll be a little bit of momentum, or it'll probably help them win another game or so and make things interesting. I think the Wild will kind of peak at times during the series, but it won't be enough. That's kind of how I see things. Interesting one here. Golden Gophers head coach Bob Moskow is named Team USA's head coach for the 2026 World Junior Championships. Is that a good thing or bad thing? Well, if it's a 2-goal lead, count them out, because that son of a biscuit has everybody kind of stay back and take the bullets time after time after time until the momentum completely favors the other team and they beat us. So I would lean towards, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. He's got a reputation of not getting it done in the big games. Great team after team after team after team in St. Cloud. No national championships. Several pretty good teams with the Gophers, no national championships, especially the 23 team. Like, I'm still pissed off about that one. That team was so good. Like, Brock Faber should have a national title. That team was so good. Like, it's just bullcrap. Bullcrap coaching in that one, I think, cost the Gophers. And not being clutch in terms of, but I don't think the coaching helped. Like, I don't know, maybe with more confident coaches out there, Cooley might have finished things off. I hated that he hit the post, but maybe he would have finished things off rather than everyone playing scared, like, oh God, the big bad Quinnipiac Cats are going to get us. Well, that's pretty much what happened. They did get us. Nothing to fear but fear itself, damn it. Okay, next. So yeah, you can tell I'm not a huge Moscow fan anymore. I love that he's revived that Gophers program, but I cannot stand what's been happening in the postseasons or the NCAA tournament. Can't stand it. Next, what is your idea? Again, this is Derek. What is your idea of success or failure in regards to this Wild club? Is just making the playoffs make the season a success, or does it need to achieve something more? Definitely needs to achieve something more. I mean, we've been there, done that. Remember how they said good is not good enough, that whole thing, that whole slogan? Well, so far they haven't lived up to that. They have not. I remember that's why that, apparently Leopold moved on from Chuck Fletcher in 2018. What have the Wild been? Good but not good enough, or mediocre, and that's it. Or like mediocre like last year with injuries and such. And of course the one disastrous season with Paul Fenton as the general manager. Good isn't good enough, but average is definitely not good enough, and that's kind of what took place. So far, I think they're plateauing, and it's not good. So they need to achieve more. I think they need to surprise some people. Maybe get to the West Final. I think that'd be great. That would be a success, and hopefully something to actually build on, and not wait 20 years to get back there. Where it's all completely different players, completely different everything. Like we're all 20 years freaking older. Next, if the Iowa Wild were a video game console, which one would it be? Oh boy. It's kind of like, as much as I love the ColecoVision, I think the games are cool and everything, but sometimes, I'm telling you, the dang thing doesn't work. Like you plug stuff in. See, so this is no rip on the ColecoVision in general, the history and the funness of it all, but the controllers are awful, and the games are very, 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 very glitchy. That's kind of probably the game console I might go with for the Iowa Wild, is the ColecoVision. Like you kind of have some hopes going in, like Carson Lambos and Liam Ogren and, oh my God, Jesper Wallstedt. Woo, here we go. Let's do this. Yep, you got these other young guys, Kalen Parker, so on and so forth. Is it Kalen Parker? No, it's not. Somebody else, like Hayden Bankier, guys like that. But, something's going to happen here, and then it's like flickery, dockery. I don't know. It's really annoying. Oh, and the AC adapter's like bigger than a house. Okay, not quite that big, but it's the biggest AC adapter in the history of video games. It's big, and the Angry Video Game Nerd Room lets you know just how damn big it is and heavy and obnoxious. So, ColecoVision gets the win for that one. And that's it. So thank you so much, Derek. God bless you. That was awesome. Jay Bushy, love hearing from you. Both of the Chris's, thank you very much. And I'll try to be more and more interactive during the course of the week. That was cool to get Chris kind of involved in some conversations during that Anaheim game. That was awesome. Maybe during some of these games here. Maybe even have a Saturday night release, as possible lawn cleanups are going to start up here. I'm basically Marc-Andre Fleury now with the lawn service. I think this is the farewell tour. Don't think I'll get the same reaction when I get behind the mower as Marc-Andre Fleury got when he went in the net against Anaheim. I was joking with my brother, and he laughed so hard. It'd be so funny. You get behind the mower, like, the place just goes absolutely nuts. I'm kind of getting limber, and here we go. I'm behind the mower, and the crowd is just going insane. One more year, or whatever, like my last lawn or whatever, like at the end of the year. That'd be amazing. I don't think I'll get that reaction, but it'd be nice. It'd be nice to get some positive reaction from people. Yeah. But yeah, there's some off mic stuff. Me and my brother were chuckling about that. What the heck, We'll leave that where it is, though. we could let's just say we could use a few more tips compared to what other people get. With that said, huge shout outs again to Pavel Burnett, Justin Bakke, you do a great job with MNW Young Guns / MNW Prospects. You guys do an amazing job, and I appreciate everything you do. Minnesota Wild Global, Scott Cavendish, and some other wonderful people there. David Chance Kostick, of course. David's always at the games. We saw him there. He's my brother's father-in-law, so and he's at every game. He's at a lot of road games as well, which is pretty cool. He's one of those type of fans where he's at everything. Definitely a participant, that's for sure, at the very least. So that's the kind of guy you want to see the Wild win a Stanley Cup for. So absolutely, someone who's been that loyal to the team deserves to see a Stanley Cup. And that's why, losing in the first round is just absolute garbage. It's too much. Good is not good enough. Like, if you make the playoffs, you're good, but you got to be better than good. Dang it. So with that said, again, really appreciate all of you very much. Share the show if you could to people. 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Greatly appreciate it if you could please do that. needs a little love. It's kind of like the reviews that have been on there are wonderful and everything, but it's kind of like the Wild Division logo, or the Wild Division championship banner. It's just been sitting there forever. Like, a little more love here. A little more love would be greatly appreciated with some 5-star ratings. With that said, thank you again so much, and we will talk to you maybe on an odd day now, because once it gets to the postseason, you might see some Saturday night or Tuesday night or whatever. I think regularly scheduled Thursdays are done, but we'll see. Obviously, postseasons are kind of random. Could be a Sunday night, could be Tuesday, Saturday, whatever. We'll see what happens, but regularly scheduled Thursday, probably unlikely from here on, as it's going to be more random now. With that said, so thank you again for listening, and we will talk to you very soon. Go Wild. Prove me wrong, dang it.